Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of How and Why. It's a little thing where I play some of my songs that I've released over the years and explain a little bit about what the song is about and tell you anything interesting that came about through the production and recording process, just to try to let my fans know a bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. The song I picked today is called Tragedy of Boquillas, and it's about a town. Well, people make fun of me when I do this, but it's an easy way to make a map of Texas, right? So this is where I live, right here, and this is El Paso. Big Bend National Park is right around here, and across the river from there is a town called Boquillas. Now, uh, Robert O'Keefe has a song called Gringo Honeymoon, where he talks about crossing the Rio Grande in a rowboat and riding donkeys into town, and he's talking about Boquillas across the river from Big Bend National Park or Terlingua, if you're familiar with where that is. And I had the good fortune to take a trip out there with some of my college buddies, and it really was like that. You'd walk down to the river and pay somebody a couple of bucks to row across, pick you up, and then you'd walk into town, or you could rent donkeys and ride into town. I mean, there's pickup truck drivers that you could jump into bed and they drive you in. It was really fun. And then when you got there, they would say, "Welcome to Boquillas." Literally, I mean, chickens running across the street, donkeys walking around. I mean, it looked like a town from an old western, and I just thought it was so incredible. People there were nice, friendly. I mean, I suppose you could get in trouble there if you wanted to, um, but it was a really wonderful place to be. Well, after the attacks of 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security basically closed down any informal border crossing like that one there in Boquillas. Now, the way they had it set up was that the Border Patrol was several miles from the actual border by that point, because there was the national park and it was a desert. It's not like there was a great deal of people that you had to protect right there at the border. Um, so there would be checkpoints, on the highways, but as far as the border crossing right there, it's not like when you go to Matamoros and you have to go through this big border checkpoint stuff. It's literally the border was a rowboat. Border crossing was a rowboat. Um, but after the attacks of 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security thought that letting people come back across, was dangerous, and so you're subject to like a $5,000 fine, even if you're an American citizen, crossing back into the country that way. And so the tourism market that Boquillas lived on really tanked because no one could afford to go there anymore, and that was their major market was American tourism, or just tourism from the park. So obviously that town that was once a buzz with excitement and joy and beauty, had a really hard time. And I was talking a few years later when I went back with another band to play a couple of shows at a place called La Kiva. I was talking with the owner and I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go over to Boquillas. I can't wait." And he said, "You can't go over there, man. They've closed it. It's illegal to cross." And I couldn't believe it. And I knew that. And he said that some of the business owners in town would, that same rowboat, they would push it across, and then they'd fill it up with canned goods and clothes and things that the people over there might need, and then they'd push that rowboat back across. But nobody wanted to look like they were crossing a border, so it all had to be done at night. And it was just a crazy thing to think about, these two towns that, even though they exist on either side of a federal boundary, they've been out in the middle of nowhere for so long. They depended on one another, and that was just the way it was. Anyway, so I wrote this song called Tragedy of Boquillas. It goes like this. Out in the desert, just west of nowhere, over the river into Mexico, lies cold. Boquillas survived on American dollars. So truck drivers waited to take you to town. But homeland insecurity closed down the border. The wind plays the dirt as Boquillas goes down. Every night you could hear the sound of the city alive as the sun went down. Now the streets are empty and the taps are dry. This is the tragedy of how Boquillas died. There's still a few, but too stubborn to leave. They got friends back in Texas that still send food and clothes. That way of life left them with nothing. As the sun sets on Boquillas, dead and alone. Every night you could hear the sound of the city alive as the sun went down. Now the streets are empty and the taps are dry. This is the tragedy of how Boquillas died. Every night you could hear the sound of the city alive as the sun went down. Now the streets are empty and the taps are dry. This is the tragedy of how Boquillas died. How Boquillas died, yeah. There you go. Tragedy of Boquillas from my album The Distance, and I hope you enjoyed the story behind it. Now let me just let you know, we did that one also at Fort Worth Sound, and I remember when we were recording it, the producer, Bart, he looked at me and he said, "Man, I don't know what happened to that guy Boquillas, but it's a very sad story." And I thought, oh, that's funny that he's listening to it over and over and he still doesn't know that it's a town. I thought maybe my lyrics could have been a little clearer, who knows. But it's about a town. And a friend of mine named Kevin helped me with that homeland insecurity line. We were sitting at a bar top one night talking back and forth, and I said, "Man, I'm really having trouble with this line. Can we run a few ideas out?" So we got a paper and just started writing, and then eventually we came up with that homeland insecurity closed down the border. And the reason I felt about I wanted to be, I know it sounds critical of the government, and I suppose it was, but I felt like that was an overreaction to what caused the attacks of 9/11, and I don't think it was people coming through the desert out of Boquillas. But I'm not in law enforcement and I'm not in government, so maybe I'm wrong. At any point, I was sad for the people over there, and I thought, as a songwriter, that's what you can do, is you can write a song to tell their story. Now, coincidentally, not coincidentally, who knows, but that border crossing is now open, so however you want to look at it, it was closed. I wrote the song. Now it's open. Those things may be related. They may not be. Thanks for listening to How and Why about Tragedy of Boquillas. As always, I'm Joshua Ingram. Please like and share and subscribe to the channel. And, we'll see you again soon. I'll keep that fresh content coming for you. Have a great day.
job on this. Joel Henry, at the time, and may still